I've written 3 books about Donald Trump. It's an incredible story. Whether we want it to be or not, it is the story of our time. And if you're a writer, I hate to say it, but he's a godsend. He's full of mystery. How does this guy not be brought down by all the things that always seem about to bring him down? My last book, Landslide, finishing with the impeachment that followed January 6th, should have been the end of the story. Are you ready? The fundamental modern assumption is that a crazy person cannot be elected president. A bad person, a corrupt person, an incompetent person, a mendacious person, a bigoted one, yes, but not someone who has completely departed reality. The age of modern bureaucracy demands, at the very least, being able to sit through a meeting without barking like a dog.
This is a major fraud in our nation. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election.
From the careening and calamitous last stage of his re-election campaign, through the preposterous election challenge and the deadly mayhem of January 6th.
We're gonna walk down and I'll be there with you because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong.
There emerges a much different picture from the one much of the media has painted of a corrupt, cynical, despotic effort to hold on to power and to subvert democracy. Here, instead, is a far more complicated human and political tale of desperation and delusion. It is one that should, by any logic, have ended on January 6th.
We love you. We will be back in some form. Have a good life. We will see you soon.
But the most striking and determinative fact of the political age is that the Trump story continues, even in defeat, to be inspirational to so many, and why all Republican roads now lead to Mar-a-Lago. This book came about after a long sit-down interview with him. Trump was in effective exile in Mar-a-Lago. I mean, he's been banished. The Republican Party has turned against him. He hardly has a friend in the world.
So what is your concept?
I think, you know, from Election Day on is the most exciting thing that's happened in American politics.
And one of the most corrupt things you say.
I think,
how do you feel about
yes.
that?
I mean, I feel, well, I'll put it this way. What I'm interested in is the excitement of the story, the fight.
Which is still going on.
Yes. And what I like about that period is that you fought.
How do you get anything out of Donald Trump? You know, there's a journalistic pose here in which you might challenge him. Or you can take the approach which I took here, which is just to egg him on.
This is a big thing that's happened. I mean, it's a very complicated thing. Somebody must have been coordinating this.
If we find that, I mean, we have so much evidence that's overflowed.
At that point in time, so the spring of 2021, it immediately started to seem possible that he could run again. I saw a group of people beginning to form around him. Something was coming together. I felt a sense of story, that this was a tale to tell. I thought, okay, I should put my boots back on. January 2024. In Iowa, the cold persisted. It was nothing functioning cold. Silent street cold. Face blistering cold. How does anyone possibly live in Iowa cold? Trump was irritated by the cold, and he was irritated by the hotel and volubly expressing his irritation to most everyone on his call list.
We're doing well. We have a lot of tremendous support, but it's nasty out there.
He berated his entourage. Why are we staying here? This place is no good. Who picked this place? Who put us here? Trump was always unhappy when he wasn't in his own bed, between his own sheets. He was over fucking Iowa.
If you have a right ear, that would be great.
So this one looking toward the right camera.
Right ear, yeah.
The filing center is already buzzing with activity. There are people here from all across the world, all of them looking to see who Iowa Republicans will pick as their first choice for president. And we'll actually get a little insight into what those results will be.
Trump liked it yesterday.
Here we are again.
Pretty optimistic.
I am now in the midst of a fourth book because this story continues to go on. No one as surprised as I am.
Great. And how long?
It'll be about 3-4 minutes.
I've covered campaigns before. That's a fairly tried and true path.
I'm just going to bring in our US election expert, Michael Wolff, a journalist and author of 3 books on Donald Trump, including the worldwide bestseller Fire and Fury. Michael.
But this is different because there are these trials.
Trump, he's fighting 2 different battles. One is an easy battle for him. He's going to get the votes. He is getting the votes. The other, a much more uncertain battle, which is in the courts.
And this isn't one trial. This is multiple trials. And it is possible that they will all come to trial before Election Day a year from now.
There have been 4 indictments, and all they've done so far for the Trump campaign is given them a boost in the polls and a boost in the amount of money that they've raised.
The stakes here for Donald Trump could not be higher. It is very possible that he will be convicted, he will lose, and he will go to jail for the rest of his life.
I do think that he surrounds himself in chaos, and we can't be a country in disarray and have a world on fire and be in chaos. I do think that these court cases are distracting.
Nikki Haley is certainly hoping it presents an opportunity.
He's trying to bully me and anyone who supports me.
She has come to represent that isolated outer edge of the Republican Party who sees Donald Trump as morally unacceptable.
Well, I've dealt with bullies my entire life. They don't intimidate me. They only motivate me further. And I've never met a bully I couldn't take on.
How close would Nikki Haley have to get for you to think that she does have a whisper of a chance in this race against Donald Trump?
I don't think that there is. I mean, unless there was an upset which everyone would find unimaginable, I don't think that she has a chance. I don't think anybody has quite come to grips with the fact that Donald Trump is a fait accompli. Anybody could win. Who knows what's going to happen? When it's very, very clear what's going to happen. There's only one thing. There has only been one person in the Republican Party since 2016.
I just had a push.
CNN projects that Donald Trump will win the Iowa caucuses.
What they have?
CNN and the AP have called Trump.
And they get paid for that?
Everybody has misunderstood this Trump phenomenon. They haven't been able to explain it, certainly. And I'm not saying that I have any better explanation, but what I'm saying is that you can, I think, begin to understand more about what he is by the people who enable him.
I want to thank Susie, I have to say, and Chris. They want no accolades. They just want a victory, and they want to make America great again. That's all they want, actually. They don't want to be speaking. They don't want to have pictures. They just want to do their job, right? I want to thank you very much, Jason, everybody. You're really fantastic.
You have no idea what kind of life this is. I mean, it's the worst possible life to do what they do, tending to someone who basically doesn't listen to you. Remember, the job is, if you're good at this, the job is just to win. Just think of it as anyone in the marketing business. When you have to sell the product, you seem to believe in the product, and you say all the right things that you have to about the product, and then you leave the office or go out and you go, oh my God, what a piece of shit.
To someone like you.
To someone like me, yes.
The people around Donald Trump, I don't think that they have any illusions. They believe that Joe Biden can do very little to win this race.
That is not the fight that Joe Biden has.
But they believe that Donald Trump can do an awful lot to lose this race. They're not worried about Joe Biden. They're worried about their candidate. The interesting thing about this time around is that there is a core group of reasonable professionals running this campaign. And there are three principal players. There's Chris LaCivita.
I have a T-shirt that says, I'm probably lying. I wear that occasional to meetings with the press.
And the only measure of their success is to win. If that means embracing something they don't believe in, well, they'll do that.
You've added a couple more events in New Hampshire next week. Was that a response to Nikki Haley's rise in the polls there?
Who's rising?
The president wants the best. You know, who's the best? Well, I am.
Oh, great. Okay.
There's another, a man by the name of Jason Miller.
I think what we saw tonight was someone who's ready to go back to the Oval Office. He's ready to get this country turned around. He's ready to save America once again.
In 2016, he got a campaign staffer pregnant, awkwardly at the same time that his wife was pregnant. This resulted in a barely contained scandal. And the only person who didn't seem to mind this was Donald Trump.
We'll always accept the results of an honest election.
And so he went back to work for the campaign.
This one's different. This one's much more personal. This is very much a sense of unfinished business. If we don't save the U.S. now, we don't know if the country's ever going to look the same.
And the third person is a woman by the name of Susie Wiles. She's run campaigns she's from a political family in Florida.
We complement each other in a lot of different ways. I'm the gas, she's the brakes.
Okay, let's go, everybody.
Their skill set is tactical, whatever is the path to victory.
Everything is kind of mellow today, so let me start with just kind of the big picture, kind of where things are at, and then I'll go to legal and the last 2 weeks.
Hardly a day passes without somebody from Trump world calling me with a phone call that will invariably start, "You won't believe it."
You just can't make this shit up. The overall mood is kind of this run-up phase, is DJT being pissed off at Nikki Haley. And almost every day there's, why is she still in this race? Can we get her out? Or I need to go and hit her hard. Why is she doing this? She had a unique ability to get under his skin.
People do like their say. They do like to represent their experience without fear that it will show up in the paper the next day. What I say shows up quite a number of months later. And I've been very trustworthy to these people. I don't reveal who my sources are. And the benefit is I'm telling you things that you would not know otherwise.
All I do is cook and write. That's it. That's it.
And shop for the food that he's gonna cook.
Yeah, I gotta shop too.
He's gonna shop.
Nothing else.
I would say it's very satisfying to cook and feed my family, but my children hate my food, so eat. What are the headlines?
Not exactly any headlines.
Can you believe that we're going to the Rockettes tomorrow?
Well, I have a 940 Jitney.
We're gonna say goodbye.
Yeah.
The camera guy's coming with you?
Yes, because I'm posing as a writer.
Yeah, who needs to take a break from his family.
In a country house, the writer has to go and for
He must be
seclusion.
alone.
Yes, which is not, in fact, true. I don't like to be alone. But for the cinema.
You're not gonna make it.
You're gonna be like, don't have enough paper towels.
You don't?
No, I don't know. I'm sure I do.
But I'm coming back on Sunday. Trump made 3 trips to New Hampshire, growing more and more irritated with the other woman, Nikki Haley, who was gaining attention and preparing to make money off of his name. She was in this not to win, but just to be the last person against him. How did I walk into Donald Trump's world? In a sense, I guess we all ask ourselves that question. As it happened, I knew Donald Trump from New York. For a long period of time, I wrote a column about the media for New York Magazine. I became one of the people at the magazine who he would call up to complain about what was written about him, or more often than not, complain when we did not write about him.
You're going to have to start pushing these people now a little bit, because it's getting a little ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. So just start pushing, and start pushing as hard as possible.
So I got along fairly well with Donald Trump.
You love me. You love me.
Yes.
That's nice. I love you too.
Years forward, you know, he becomes this extraordinary television star. And then he starts to run for president.
Let's get inside. I gotta go back to work. I still gotta work. Bye, everybody. One more.
But then, in February or March of 2016, I was writing a column for The Hollywood Reporter, and the editor had called me and said, "Do you want to interview Trump?" And I was like, well, yeah, that could be amusing. It was not a hate story, but it was a critical story. I was making fun of him. And his response was, "Great cover." I have no idea if he ever even read the article. It didn't make any difference. He liked the cover. That then provided me with the entree to keep going on this, because from that point on, the story really kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I kept putting off doing everything else, like taking my family on vacation, because the end was coming. Election day would be the end. There would be no more Donald Trump. And then 8:30 on election night.
CNN can report that Hillary Clinton has called Donald Trump to concede the race.
And that's when I made the proposal. I said, why don't I come into the White House and write about the first 100 days.
It's flying out of bookstores and into the national consciousness. It's #1 on both the New York Times and Amazon bestseller list.
I think when my book, Fire and Fury, came out, a lot of people thought this was bad for him, that actually my book could contribute to bringing him down.
I consider it a work of fiction, and I think it's a disgrace that somebody's able to have something, do something like that. The libel law.
Obviously, that didn't happen. So you might then reasonably ask, did this book help him? It somehow turned the chaos into something recognizable. I mean, he doesn't look like
up close like anyone you have ever seen before.
And then when chaos is recognizable, you can make the argument that it's no longer chaos. And I don't know how I feel about that.
Michael Wolff's first book on the Trump White House was an international sensation that garnered plenty of controversy. His follow-up book is also being criticized, largely about sourcing.
You have, frankly, frauds like Michael Wolff publishing without making any efforts to fact-check, fiction under the banner of nonfiction.
I find that I'm a fairly polarizing figure among many journalists, and I try to sometimes make the distinction. I'm not principally a journalist, I'm principally a writer. Pardon me. My function is to describe what I see.
This idea that as a reporter, you have your one source and you believe them credible enough where you're not even going to give the other side the luxury of hearing what you're about to publish. What strikes me as odd about Wolff is that he says because he doesn't work for, say, the Washington Post or the Atlantic or the Daily Beast, he doesn't have to do that, as though reporters are only calling for comment because of the dictates of the institution they work for, as opposed to it just being the ethically sound thing to do.
Usually after a book comes out, everybody says, well, who are your sources? And I say, well, I can't tell you who my sources are. And there's a kind of jostling about that. And it's usually from other journalists. I mean, I don't find readers saying, who's your sources?
You frequently depend on single source accounts. How do you gauge the trustworthiness of some of these folks that you're talking to, especially when the environment that they're working in is so backstabby?
You know, I know these people. I mean, you know the people who are reliable, and there have been some people in some instances that prove not to be reliable. Well, you get rid of them, and you continue on with at this point the people who brought you.
I have no agenda. I have no point. I have no political axe to grind here. I am just looking for this incredible story to unfold.
Let me have the prosciutto cotto and Swiss cheese. I want a skim milk cappuccino. Everything, no, here. Yeah, here is great. Recently, Nikki Haley ended her campaign.
The time has now come to suspend my campaign. And although I will no longer be a candidate, I will not stop using my voice for the things I believe in. Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee. I congratulate him.
So there is now nothing standing in the way of Trump's nomination. You've had two things that have gone on for the past year. You've had this campaign for the Republican nomination, and then you've had this legal battle, this legal onslaught. And the race for the Republican nomination has been hands down successful. I mean, I don't think that there's ever been an example in which a candidate has been as successful as quickly as Donald Trump has been. And at the same time, flip the coin around, you have 1 indictment, 2 indictments, 3 indictments, 4 indictments. There's so many cases here, they've all rolled together as one. You could barely find a man on the street. You can barely find people in the campaign to kind of make the distinctions. You know, this is the, this is the hush money case. This is the boxes document case. This is the January 6th case. This is the Atlanta case, which nobody knows what's going on there.
Everybody knows it's a political. We not Trump. It's election interference. That's all it is. Thank you, everybody.
And of course, his central legal strategy has been delay, and it's worked out very well. It turns out if you have enough lawyers, they'll just keep making motions after motions after motions to push these cases and keep pushing them. Except that now one has fallen through the cracks, and it is here. It's a little disruptive, you know. I mean, it's...
President Trump's historic New York hush money trial begins, making him the first ever former president to stand for a criminal trial.
Because all the other trials, Trump has managed to push beyond the election. This trial kind of comes to stand in for all of them. And the campaign team's worried about this. You know, to be convicted of a felony might have psychic implications for many, many, many voters that are unanticipated.
It's all part of an elaborate effort not to face him on the ballot box in November. And look, it won't be over. Even when he wins, it's not going to be over until he takes the oath of office.
At this point in the campaign, we're not in a battleground state. We're not in Michigan. We're not in Pennsylvania. We're not in Wisconsin. We're in New York. Why are we in New York? Because President Trump is on trial. Much rather be on the campaign trail, but we're stuck here.
This sham prosecution, this insanity, this abomination has to stop now.
If this case happened 4 years ago, you'd have had The Rock and you'd have had Cardi B. Instead, they have Robert De Niro in a mask, limping his way to a stage, getting shouted down by New Yorkers in his own town.
I mean, this is really, even these people over here are kind of, it's kind of crazy.
They lost the pop culture that the Democrats had because the situation they've created over the last 4 years is so bad. It's so palpable.
We love you, Trump! We love you! We're for you, Trump!
Many Democrats have felt that this would seriously handicap his ability to campaign. But with these trials, essentially, he brings the campaign to himself. Nobody else is going to be interested in anything but what is happening in these courtrooms. It will be all about Donald Trump. And does the system destroy Donald Trump, or does Donald Trump destroy the system?
Stormy on the stand. The next witness in the Trump trial will be Stormy Daniels. She is expected to testify, of course, about getting paid off by Michael Cohen to keep her alleged affair with the former president secret.
Stormy on the witness stand is all undirected energy. Her glasses on top of her head, her streaked hair askew, mascara and blush not necessarily hiding her age. 45 now, 27 when her Trump encounter occurred. Trump's fury that she is here confronting him is not entirely misplaced. She doesn't particularly connect any evidentiary dots. She is here to embarrass him. The defense furiously argues this point and does so before a judge who seems personally squeamish and even offended that such tales might come into his courtroom.
As much as I didn't want to get up there and face that, the only thing that I could think of as being worse is if the prosecution didn't call me. Public perception of that would have been they didn't trust her. She's not credible, and that's just something that I wasn't willing. I'd rather get shot at than have everybody think, oh wow, she's the star witness, and they decided not to call her. But nothing can really prepare you. It's intense. The trial was about campaign finance violations, you know, paperwork, boring stuff. But the press, the media, the public continued and would not stop calling it the Stormy Daniels hush money trial, which is not what it was. The problem with that is that led everyone to attack me.
She's a little off, this woman. And to subject this jury to the testimony that they had to listen to that is totally irrelevant, not probative, and prejudicial in this case. And she acts like what she is.
They're like, why did you have to talk about his penis? Now, we all know that if I was lying, he would have dropped his pants a long time ago or gotten a doctor's note. Or has Melania been like, she's wrong, I know what my husband's genitals look like, and that's not it. Nope, not a peep, because she knows I'm telling the truth.
Susan Necklace sought to shame Stormy Daniels, not just to her face, but in front of the jurors, to say this porn star slut isn't telling the truth.
His attorney came up, and she was a fucking bitch. She tried to like slut shame me. I mean, if you read the testimony, like it is next level. But then I was like, game on. I don't start fights, but I do finish them.
Stormy Daniels kept her cool today. I actually thought she performed better on cross-examination than she did on direct examination. She answered the questions. She was careful. She was listening. She was thoughtful. So I don't think it will work.
She said, well, you're used to making up stories because you write porn. I mean, it is so offensive. And then she was like, you are just making money off of this. Like, you sign autographs. I'm like, so does he. At least I'm signing autographs of the books I wrote. This motherfucker is signing copies of the Bible. I looked right at him. He just, he just muttered. I could hear him muttering, but I didn't know what it was, but he doesn't intimidate me.
It's almost as if Trump and the lawyers who he is directing to a certain extent, and we've seen that, are mad at her for trying to kind of take back her power.
If I could barely handle this, I don't think that there's another person in the entire world that could have. I was the perfect storm, pun intended, because I don't have a family that could have been threatened. I don't have a mainstream job that I could have lost. You know what I mean? Like, how are you gonna shame me after doing porn for so long? Somebody else could have been hurt so much more seriously than I could have. There could have been so much more collateral damage.
You can't imagine this has been easy for her, but she yet withstood this under fire, a lot of fire. It was all about trying to undermine her credibility. And I would say they didn't succeed, and they may have failed miserably. Yes, how are you? No, I can't. I need one of those. It's as I explained. You know, I'm just having dinner with somebody, and we can't be spotted. Okay, so I'll have to find some other place then. Okay, bye. Oh damn. Yeah, hi, it's Michael Wolff, and I wonder if I can get a reservation for 8:45, but the catch is I need the hidden table in the back. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye-bye. I am sneaking out to have dinner with someone in the close Trump circle who will tell me what has been going on for the last several days.
Thanks. You're welcome.
This story that I'm trying to tell really depends upon people willing to tell you all kinds of stuff that they should not tell you in any way. The message was that Trump is really beating up his lawyers. I guess this gets to the point of just borders on abuse. You're drawing her out and keeping her on the stand. She's a lying scumbag, and I never had sex with her, and you keep letting her say I did. Why are you going into all this? You keep going into it. Is this your strategy? What kind of strategy is this? You're losing it completely. You're making her look sympathetic. She's a scumbag, and you're making her look good. Do you know that's what you're doing? Do you see that? Everybody else sees that. How can you not see that?
The jury in the Donald Trump criminal hush money trial has reached a verdict.
Count 1, guilty. Count 2, guilty. Count 3, guilty.
We're hearing guilty on 1 through 5. 1 through 12, we have now 13, 14, guilty.
Guilty on all 34 felony counts. That is the verdict here in this case.
And I was sitting on the sofa with my daughter, and I was just sobbing.
This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people, and we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end, and we'll win, because our country's gone to hell. We don't have the same country anymore. We have a divided mess. And we will fight for our Constitution. This is long from over. Thank you very much.
These people are all scumbags. They're all the scum of the earth. And what we are doing now is we created a brand new wave. I can't wait for November 5th, because now you're going to see a guaranteed win.
Was that awkward? Okay. Three things going on. First, it's really a question for him and for the people around him how he converts this loss, catastrophic loss, into victory. So he's just been convicted after 6 weeks in court. He's lost resoundingly, but he went from court to a fundraiser. And then there was a Daily Mail poll which put him up 6 points.
You see the boon that came from that. He got convicted on 34 counts, and his popularity goes up. He raises $400 million in less than a week. And he had $100 million from big tech, Silicon Valley. These are people who in 2020 would have lined up behind Joe Biden.
I'm thrilled to be back in the city I grew up in, the city I spent my life in, the city I helped build, and the city that we all love, New York City.
He's just a fighter. Once he's in the game, he doesn't stop. He's an animal.
This is the first of two debates, the first direct matchup, Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. This is being billed as make or break. Trump still slightly ahead in several key swing states, but slightly. This is a big moment. The Trump campaign has defined Joe Biden as senile. So a moment of bewildered equivocation could be devastating to him. But in Trump's mind, we can't go too hard on Joe Biden, because if we do, that will encourage the Democrats to replace him. And Joe Biden is the weakest person he could run against.
Donald Trump for president again.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Chili dog?
Can I get a plain hot dog, a seltzer, sparkling water, and French fries? Is this the look we're going for? All of these debates, there is really very little point to them. We invented this as a media form. Essentially, you have these people going blah, 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 blah.
We discussed tonight domestic issues.
And is largely without meaning, largely without detail.
There is no question but that this nation cannot stand still.
Incredibly boring.
I think we can save money through this whole very sophisticated concept, Andrea, that I know you do understand, of competitive strategies.
And then a guy comes along who does this for a living. He's a reality television star and producer.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't.
I mean, that is actually the moment when everybody should have known that something profound had changed in American political life.
I don't frankly have time for total political correctness.
Do you find that depressing?
You know, I mean, on one hand, let me confess, I am grateful for there to be something worth looking at and listening to, and something to wake me up. The fact that this is a monster. I mean, monsters are, reliable showstoppers. Donald Trump walking into this suddenly brings life back to something that was completely dead. Now, if that's a weird life and a kind of a sick life, and yeah, but it's at least life. Hey, how are you?
I just want to introduce myself.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Are you writing another book, or?
No, who knows? Seems like mom.
Something.
Yeah.
There's always something. Well, good to see you. Just wanted to say hi.
Oh, very nice meeting you.
Governor, why is Donald Trump doing so well in the polls then?
I mean, I guess he's doing fine. We live in a divided country.
Donald Trump believes that if Joe Biden falls on his face tonight, that the likelihood is that he would be replaced by Governor Newsom. So the possibilities of that are giving Newsom the biggest crowds so far.
So I'm just not of that mindset.
I mean, nobody really believes that Joe Biden can be replaced at this point, even if disaster strikes.
We felt that the White House would ensure that Biden would have whatever was medically available to get him through an hour and a half of standing up and going toe-to-toe with President Trump. We actually said that there should be a drug test. And you throw out things like that to draw attention, like, oh, what are they going to give them?
We want to welcome our viewers in the United States and around the world to our studios in Atlanta. This is the CNN presidential debate.
Now, please welcome the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Joe Biden crept unsteadily, his balance gravely in doubt, up to the lectern. The immediate signal could hardly be misread. Whoever had conceived of this debate as a viable platform had made a woeful gamble. More than 50 million people were tuned in, and there were few who could not see the trouble ahead, except for Trump. From where he was entering, he couldn't see it. Sauntering in with his usual ready-for-bear face, he'd yet no idea that the game was already in radical transition.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Let's begin the debate, and let's start with the issue that voters consistently say is their top concern, the economy.
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president.
He was concentrating on his own opening and hardly listening to Biden's first catastrophic responses. He thought he had heard Biden claim that he had created 15,000 new jobs.
15,000 new jobs?
Instead of 15 million, but assumed he'd heard wrong. Within minutes of the start, no one was listening to what Joe Biden was saying or trying to say. It was all just unremitting and excruciating spectacle, and riveting.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's
Trump, concentrating on his own remarks, was only slowly understanding that Biden was performing weakly.
Now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we can do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do
It was at least 20 minutes in, those crucial first 20 minutes, before he understood what was certainly clear to most of the vast audience. This might be the most bewildering moment that had ever occurred to a presidential debater. This wasn't a mess-up. This was human pathos. Joe Biden was sundowning before 50 million people.
We're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you, former President Trump, President Biden. Stay with us because we have full analysis of this debate.
Yikes.
There's going to be a lot of talk because there are so many political experts on Twitter, right? My God, it's just filled.
What you have here are people waiting for someone to come out and defend Joe Biden, and no one is coming out and defending Joe Biden. So this is now entirely a Republican spin run.
I think at the end of this, we're going to have to, identify Joe Biden by his dental records. He was bludgeoned so bad.
He was literally drooling on himself. Other times he has his mouth open, catching flies.
I don't envy my Democratic friends here who've had to stand here and try to defend Joe Biden's debate performance, which was disastrous. Here's the problem.
My God. Well, let's go. Look. I don't know what happens now. I mean, I'm shocked by the whole thing.
Right now, as we speak, there is a deep, a wide, and a very aggressive panic in the Democratic Party. It started minutes into the debate, and it continues right now. And they're having conversations about the president's performance, which they think was dismal, and they're having conversations about what they should do about it.
Would you prefer Joe Biden to stay on the ticket, or is there somebody else that
Joe Biden's not going anywhere. The only way Joe Biden is dumped off the ticket is if he voluntarily decides that he's not going to do it, and he's not going to make that decision. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
You know, I think, okay, you know, this is, how does this disrupt the narrative, my narrative?
That was painful. He didn't do well at all. He did not do well at all.
You cannot tell me democracy is on the line and then give that performance. Based on that, in 18 weeks, Donald Trump will be the president-elect.
President Biden is facing calls to drop his bid for re-election. That's after his debate performance against Donald Trump. Biden sat down.
The next few days will be critical if he's to salvage his imploding campaign and convince America he's up to it.
This becomes the story. Biden and the Democrats have occupied the media now for a steady 2 weeks. And for the Trump campaign, this is their greatest fear, when someone else becomes the story. They don't know what to do. During the campaign, one of Trump's people said to me, our only matrix is attention. Good, bad, doesn't make any difference. The more attention we get, the more the numbers go up. He is the mover. By dominating the media, he dominates the election. And suddenly he's lost all that. Who wants to hear about Donald Trump when you have this Shakespearean drama being worked out in the Democratic Party? Everybody's looking at their news feed. Has Biden resigned? Is it over?
Hi,
Hi, Shannon. A very hot day here in the swing state of Pennsylvania, but that didn't stop these massive crowds behind us from showing up here to try and catch a glimpse of the former president on that stage here in Butler, Pennsylvania, before he heads to Milwaukee for the RNC.
If you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Somebody got shot!
We're clear! Got you, sir. I got you.
Let me get my shoes.
Hold on, your head is bloody. So we gotta move.
Oh my God! Oh my God! How many shots was that?
Watch out!
Wait.
The shooting at Saturday's Trump rally as an assassination attempt. The former president appeared to be hit, but is okay. 3 men in the crowd were shot.
These are not only the images that are seared into the minds of Americans, these are the images that are now going to fuel Donald Trump's campaign. An image of the former president, the presumptive Republican nominee, bloodied with his fists up in the air, surrounded by Secret Service agents as he's rushed down those stairs and into that armored vehicle where he went to a local hospital for treatment. The former president moving forward full steam ahead with plans to attend the Republican National Convention tonight. And President Biden promised every single resource necessary to ensure the safety of former President Donald Trump, David.
Has anyone in the history of American politics been as lucky as this guy? You know, he gets shot at, actually, hit in the ear. So, I mean, take a moment to appreciate that it's the probably the safest place on a human body to be shot at is the ear. You know, he gets shot, and then he gets up again. I mean, literally in front. So, producing probably the most iconic picture since I don't know Iwo Jima. But even that's a kind of a group shot. This is really a singular shot. And then he has the presence of mind to mug for the camera, to pump his fist. This is extraordinary. For Donald Trump, this convention becomes a hero's welcome, a coronation. I mean, all of the things you could have only dreamed that you might want it to be. Hey, how are you? Extraordinary. You know, well, I mean, I guess Donald Trump is going to be the next president of the United States. I mean, these guys think, the Republicans think they are going to sweep every swing state plus Maine plus Virginia, and it's in yes, and New Hampshire possible. I mean, they really think Maine, Virginia, and all the swing states, but everything is breaking their way. I mean, they're seeing landslide.
nominate Ohio Senator J.D. Vance for the office of Vice President of the United States.
Choosing Vance was very, full of ambivalence. He really didn't want to do it because of all the terrible things Vance has said about him. Because Don Jr. was supporting him and he thinks Don Jr. is a dummy. And then the fact that he's 39, which, obviously Trump understands that's going to make him look old. Up until days ago, he was still seriously debating this. Right, Vance has very clearly positions himself or repositions himself as the MAGA next generation. Who would have believed, Jesus? He was always the story, but now, my God. Anyway, I'll speak to you next week. See ya, bye.
What are your plans for this evening?
To go to the convention floor and to smell the crowd.
Hey guys, how are you? Good to meet you. Hey, how are you?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome former Governor of South Carolina and Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley.
To me, Haley looked like a prisoner of war fighting for her survival, and so you have to do what you have to do.
I'll start by making one thing perfectly clear. Donald Trump has my strong endorsement, period.
Nikki Haley cannot have been pleased with this. This is just falling into line. The art of politics is the art of humiliation.
My fellow Americans, it is my honor to introduce the 45th and soon-to-be 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Let me begin this evening by expressing my gratitude to the American people for your outpouring of love and support following the assassination attempt at my rally on Saturday.
He had had the kind of experience that necessarily changes a man, even Donald Trump. And it seemed like it could be a great speech, a genius one.
Together we will launch a new era of safety, prosperity, and freedom for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. The discord and division in our society must be healed. We must heal it quickly.
For minutes there, it was clear to all, perhaps truly everyone, that another Trump presidency was inevitable and even deserved to be.
I am running to be president for all of America, not half of America, because there is no victory in winning for half of America.
But then he relaxed.
The greatest invasion in history is taking place right here in our country. From Africa, Asia, the Middle East, they're coming from everywhere. They're coming at levels.
It was a mere variation on his stump speech.
We will drill, baby, drill.
Huffing, puffing, snarling, mocking, insulting, mugging, smirking.
Every week they get another subpoena from the Democrats, crazy Nancy Pelosi, the whole thing, just boom, boom, boom.
A jarring and even embarrassing juxtaposition between minutes ago the man humbled before God, and now the same old, same old.
We become a dumping ground for the rest of the world, which is laughing at us. They think we're stupid, and they can't believe that they're getting away with what they're getting away with, but they're not going to be getting away with it for long. That's what I can tell you.
Okay, we've got huge breaking news right now on Twitter. Apparently, President Biden is saying that he will step aside as a candidate. This is just coming across on social media right now, breaking news, and we'll address
The Trump people had become so comfortable or complacent in their incredible success that they really hadn't come to terms with the fact that their success was going to force Biden out of the race. The Democratic Party appears to have completely rallied around Kamala Harris.
She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable.
Which is curious, because if the issue was finding the best candidate to oppose Donald Trump, essentially the Democratic Party has now rallied around, only the second worst candidate. She has not been a very good politician, has not been very popular, presents pretty badly. The opportunity here was to take this story from Donald Trump. A new face is the only thing that could make Donald Trump old news. But instead, we have a somewhat old face, and everybody else kind of shying away from this.
Are you ready for Kamala Harris to win? Good, because when Kamala wins, America wins.
Having said that, the race does change at this point. She gets to make a case for herself. And she has certain built-in advantages. Trump has been making serious inroads in the Democratic African-American base, Hispanic base, even women. So now she can reclaim that Democratic advantage. And it's not impossible that we can return to a race that hangs in the balance.
This election is not only the most important of our lives, it is one of the most important in the life of our nation. Donald Trump is an unserious man, but the consequences of putting Donald Trump back in the White House are extremely serious.
The speed in which he dropped and then backed her, I think did surprise us a bit. We knew that her numbers would bounce up. There'd be a bit of a halo effect. I'm not sure if we necessarily expected that there'd be such the halo effect of the media who just 2 months prior were saying all these nasty negative things about Kamala Harris to then saying she's the one person who can beat Trump, so we have to rally around her.
Very sad time for this country in many ways. You had a candidate. I was no fan of Joe Biden, but the way he was taken out was a coup. He got 14 million votes, and the person running now got none. She was disgraced. She was figured out by the Democrat voters. Now she's running against us. Thank you, everybody.
We're on our way to Philadelphia for the second debate in this 2024 election. This will be the first time you can compare them side by side. Then I'm not sure, and I think a lot of people are afraid of that she's up to that. I don't want to look at my involvement with this story as a political involvement. Some writers are highly political, and that's what they're interested in. I'm interested in how a person moves across the room. What does this person say to that person? What is the nature of their language, the tone of their language?
It is very personal. I'm the writer here. Every word I write is through my eyes. I can't think of how that could be more personal. You have to look at this as a kind of farce, as a kind of comedy. The fact that it has real-world implications, the farce, I think, confuses people and leads them to say, well, it can't be farce. And I'm saying, well, I don't know. Let's look at this.
And the woman there is Alina Habba, one of the Trump lawyers. You want to get her.
Trump once said that he may not have the best legal team or the smartest legal team, but he has the hottest legal team. And then he would always show a picture of Alina Habba.
Do you think the President Trump
RFK Jr. There is no freedom of speech in Europe anymore. There is no freedom of speech in Brazil, and this is spreading across, and of course China and these other countries, it doesn't exist.
So interesting that he's a somebody.
Why?
Why? Because he's, you know, a crazy person.
60% of our kids now have chronic disease, compared to 3.4% when my uncle was president. And
he said that Trump's main concern was the children, which anyone who knows Donald Trump knows that never once in his life has he been concerned about the children.
We need to be, again, the exemplary democracy in the world.
It's a crack light voice.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. If this is about hair, and Donald Trump has clearly made it about hair, I think Newsom would be a very strong contender. I assume that there are Democrats here. I just don't know the Democrats as well. It's not my beat. Okay, 4 minutes to go. Let's go.
Good evening. We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
So let's get started.
They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Crime in this country is through the roof.
Well, I think this is so rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted. When you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people.
She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist.
In over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest.
What they have done by allowing these millions of people to come into our country, in Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame.
You talk about extreme. You know.
Tonight we saw someone that has empathy, who cares about ordinary Americans, who talks about kitchen sink issues.
Fair, that's very fair. But what about the pets that are being eaten in Springfield, Ohio?
Been documented in video after video where people have said
Cats
that
and dogs.
Yes, people have said that they have pets that are missing. They have seen animals being decapitated. People have reported
cats and dogs.
Yes.
What we believe is that you should preserve that life. You shouldn't just allow that baby to die. The indifference to a baby born alive is, in essence.
At times, Donald Trump seemed riled and angry.
She probably comes out ahead. She can stand up against this guy.
He got destroyed in this debate, that was destroyed.
Do you think
The reaction that she got was totally flabbergasting. She went from someone widely disliked to someone beloved overnight.
The new national Reuters Ipsos poll has Harris ahead by 5 points. Let's take a look at that right now. CNN's Harry.
For both sides, their winning issue, each believes, is the other side. Donald Trump and the deep aversion to him on the part of so many Americans is the Democrats' winning hand. And Kamala Harris and the visceral dislike and deep suspicion of her in MAGA land is the Trumpers' ace. A tight race, as tight as any in modern history, could default to the enemy you know.
You guys hang around all winter?
Yeah, we're here. Do you live in Montauk? Or
I do now, yeah.
Oh, nice. Whoa!
Ooh, nice guys. Lift it up. Nice fish. Absolutely.
That is huge.
That's a big male. All those white chinners.
In many ways, I've become a kind of court reporter. I'm often accused of reporting gossip or being a gossip. That is that kind of quintessential position of the guy in Louis' court, or, you know, of the diarists in London of a particular time. You're telling the things that other people, nicer people, I suppose, would not say.
Oh my God.
But I'm telling this story in a way that is truer, I think. The real question is, does it need to be told? You know, we believe it needs to be told, but maybe politics is just this illusion that we all support, and perhaps it's completely meaningless. I have no politics. I'm a writer. I have a stake in what I'm writing. I have a stake in being able to take what is in front of me and put it on the page. The problem with farm stands is that the people who work here are bloody incompetent. Do I have a rooting interest? I have no rooting interest. I just have a descriptive interest.
But as a father and a husband, do you have a different sort of interest?
I think I just answered that question. I can be more precise here. I don't vote. I don't want to vote. That's not what I do. My job is a different job. I don't see any reason to add that complication or that perspective on what I do.
How's the book coming along?
You mean, does that mean will I finish the book? I will finish the book. Will I finish the book on time? I always finish on time.
Now a judge in New York throws former President Donald Trump's felony convictions into some question, delaying his sentencing. That move comes following Monday's U.S. Supreme Court ruling granting presidents some immunity for official acts.
The most surprising thing of this campaign is that he survived. Each of these cases appeared to be, each on their own, a mortal threat. That was a key of the Democratic campaign. At some point, it began to be clear that he was going to circumvent this. He is, I think the term would be, scot-free.
Tonight, a tape the Kamala Harris campaign will want Americans to hear.
Certainly, the former president is in the far-right area. He's certainly an authoritarian, admires people who are dictators. So he certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, for sure.
So yesterday we learned that Donald Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, a retired four-star general, confirmed that while Donald Trump was president, he said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had.
Kamala Harris has been groping for a way to label him and describe him, so this immediately became an element of this campaign.
It is clear from John Kelly's words that Donald Trump is someone who, I quote, certainly falls into the general definition of fascists.
I mean, fascism implies a fairly structured program to realize those kind of corporate, populist, and authoritarian goals. Does Donald Trump have that? Oh, geez, I doubt that he has thought that through in any way.
French fries, President. Thank you for French fries.
Thank you. Grab some before you lose them.
Was the ice cream machine
He's my
working?
kind of guy. You want ice cream? I'll get you some ice cream.
But on the other hand, you know, there are pieces of that which he certainly displays. So what is that? What does that add up to? In a sense, to say it is fascism is dignifying it.
It was a spooky one.
A spooky one. Okay, but you have to be quiet now because we're making a movie. And so began what was perhaps the worst week of the campaign. Having been exiled from New York City, indeed convicted by it, the conquering anti-hero was back at the very center of it. 20,000 people were in Madison Square Garden to celebrate him.
Trump is actually reenacting the Madison Square Garden rally in 1939. Neo-Nazis, fascists in America were lining up to pledge their support for the kind of government that they were seeing in Germany. So I don't think we can ignore it.
What do they mean by fascism? By wanting to have your country be able to survive, by not wanting to constantly be in other people's wars? Like, he could cure cancer just by doing this, and they'd totally find something to say, fascism, homophobic, and it's like, we need to stop with these things. Nobody cares who you sleep with. You know, nobody cares what color you are.
He's the greatest president in American history.
As Trump backstage railed against his speechwriters for finding nothing new to say, words started to filter back that Tony Hinchcliffe, whom few had ever heard of, was, on stage, throwing a bomb into the Latino voters whose margin might well provide the Trump victory.
There's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah, I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay, all right, okay.
You're my female hero because you said to that man everything every woman in this world wants to say to him. Frankly, there are way too many men in this world, big, small, who have a little microgram of power over women. And you showed those women, guess what? My voice means something.
Make sure you vote.
Yep, there is no doubt about voting.
I want to make sure everybody's voting.
Oh, hell.
While Trump may be holding a rally in Madison Square Garden purely for his own ego, like, New York's not gonna flip, right? The rest of us are trying to survive on a planet that is really suffering from climate change. We're trying to build a world where the next generation has access to, I don't know, healthcare and education. So it's really wild to be an American right now. We really are living in two different countries.
Huge fan.
Oh, hi, Stormy. I love you. I love you on everything. Thank you.
I think we should all worry about Trump. I worry not just because I'm an actual figure in this fucked up horror movie, but also just as an American citizen, as a woman, as a mother to a daughter, as a friend to so many gay and trans people. And yeah, I think that we should all be very afraid.
This is so much more than a political movement. This is the greatest family in the world. We are fighting for a country we love. Are you guys ready to take your country back?
America is for Americans and Americans only.
If you're outside of the Trump bubble, it's very hard to appreciate what's going on here. I mean, it's sort of one moron after another.
Our message to gay Americans tonight is this. You're free to marry who you want if you want without the government standing in your way. But that doesn't mean that boys get to compete with girls in girls' sports. Or even genital mutilation and chemical castration on our children.
You could not literally sit through this unless you were in the bubble. You've drunk the Kool-Aid.
MAGA, baby, it's time. Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest capitalist in the history of the United States of America, Elon Musk.
Didn't he used to hate Trump? I wonder how his Tesla sales are doing now. Because it's all liberals that buy those, right? It's like mass possession. What the fuck is happening? I talked to a priest about it. I was like, is it possible for like mass like possession or like a virus? It's like The Walking Dead. Because there's people that I would never expect just go full fucking cult.
On day one, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history. But she would get us into World War III.
If he gets away with not getting sentenced, he gets it thrown out when I gave up everything and I lost like a contract for a big podcast. I should have been making $1 million. I gave up everything to testify. But most important, all that time without my daughter, then it was all for nothing.
And I'm hereby calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or law enforcement officer.
At this very moment, I think he's gonna win. Because people have gotten complacent, and these people are crazy and rabid, and they will walk in the snow uphill both ways to vote for him.
Meanwhile, Harris's closing speech before a crowd of as many as 75,000 at the Ellipse in Washington, D.C., exactly where Trump urged on a similarly sized crowd to march on the Capitol on January 6, 2021, was as powerful and cogent an argument for the dire future of a government returned to Donald Trump's hands as she had made in the campaign.
Donald Trump has spent a decade trying to keep the American people divided and afraid of each other. That is who he is. But America, I am here tonight to say that is not who we are. That is not who we are.
In this final week, I mean, there's a, sudden death feeling. Many people have suddenly felt the urgency to be witnesses to who Donald Trump really is. And it occurred to me I could add to the story.
Good morning, Michael.
James.
So, the end. Days to go. I know you spent Sunday with 10,000 of your closest friends in Madison Square Garden, but we'll set that aside for a moment because there's something I'd like to talk to you about, something we've talked privately about before, but I don't think you've ever talked about this publicly. You had a particular secret source when you wrote Fire and Fury.
Quite particular. It was Trump's old friend, Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, this past week, the Epstein-Trump connection surfaced again when a well-known model of the 90s, Stacey Williams, gave an interview saying that while she was dating Epstein, he introduced her to Trump. And Trump virtually upon their introduction. Well, let me quote from the story. Mr. Trump pulled Miss Williams toward him and touched her breasts, waist and buttocks, she said, as the New York Times reported it. So how much do you know about Jeffrey and Donald?
Quite a bit. I probably have 100 hours of Epstein talking about the inner workings of the Trump White House.
He is charming. He is able to convince people. It's very much like Clinton. Both Bill and Donald have the ability to go over to a fat, ugly woman, say, "You are the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." So he tells everybody what they want to hear.
Having this conversation, Epstein, on more than one occasion, would bring out these photographs that he had. They were from the late 90s, and they were Trump at Jeffrey Epstein's Palm Beach house, sitting around the pool with these young women, topless, and in some of the pictures, they're sitting in his lap. And then there's one I especially remember where there's a stain, a telltale stain on the front of Trump's pants, and the women are pointing at him and laughing.
This is getting creepy.
The creepiest framing of this is, here are these two guys, both driven by a need to do anything they wanted with women, dominance and submission and entertainment. And one of them ends up in the darkest prison in the country, and the other in the White House.
Yes.
Explain that. Let's have a discussion about, what if we want to push this out.
Yeah, for sure.
I have tried countless times to do something with this material. I mean, I have discussed this with almost every media organization, but no one has wanted to let Epstein be a witness. From my point of view, to really point out that Jeffrey Epstein was Donald Trump's close friend for a very long time is damning information, telling information, and important information. It does feel like, there are secrets here.
We just got 100 hours of Jeffrey Epstein saying he and Trump were BFFs. I didn't even get an alert about it on my phone.
But nothing happened. That's the thing about the news cycle. It passes very quickly.
As Epstein did with the writer Michael Wolff, who took his sweet time releasing this information.
I cannot explain why Donald Trump has gotten a pass on this. Donald Trump has said repeatedly, I barely knew the guy, when in fact he was his best friend for 10 years. One of the interesting aspect of this is that the Trump campaign released a statement that calling this election interference, which is puzzling, which sort of goes like anything you would say against us before the election is election interference. The story has happened. I'm just waiting now to find out how it ends. As we sit here, and I start to think, well, he could win. Donald Trump could very well win. Disregarding what that means for the country, the world, and the future of my children, the idea for me that I might have to go on writing about him is almost unimaginable. So were it to come to pass that he was to be defeated, I guess I would feel liberated. So I want your up to the minute.
I think she has Pennsylvania, but that doesn't stop Trump from being able to win because he could still win with Michigan, Wisconsin, assuming he wins the Sun Belt. The problem in North Carolina is this fucking asshole who didn't drop out. Trump has never mentioned that guy. I forget his name.
Right, yeah.
The porno guy.
Yeah.
The porno Nazi guy.
Yeah. So you think at this moment...
Listen, and what I'm telling you is I think she's going to win.
Yeah, got it.
But I'm saying, like, if somebody's paying me, I want your analysis. I'm like, look, I don't have a high confidence on this, and I'm not hedging to you.
I mean, you're actually somewhat more optimistic on her side than I am at the moment. Call me tonight. See ya.
I'm pissed. Did you hear any more about the...
Oh, God. Yeah, geez, all I do is hear now about Epstein.
I'll call you or text you when I hear about Pennsylvania.
Thanks. So that was one of my all-time favorite Trump orbit people, who is often thought to be, even among Trump people, to be the guy who knows Trump best. Writing about Donald Trump and Donald Trump becoming one's antagonist is an interesting, in a way, confounding situation. My first book, Fire and Fury, he denounced it, threatened to sue me, the whole litany of things, and that actually redounded to the success of the book. You enter into this weird symbiotic relationship. The more he vilifies you, the more you become a public figure. You enter into his news cycle world and likely benefit from it. It's 5:06 on election day, and the majority of quality polls are now showing Harris with an electoral college victory.
Democrats hold 32 seats, Republicans 42 with that.
She's going to do better in certain areas like Philadelphia, which is a city. So that looks like she's doing well. It looks like she's winning the state. But there will be other votes coming in from rural Pennsylvania, for instance, where Donald Trump will do much better.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump, you say it.
Donald Trump fan.
If he wins, then the likelihood is that I am committed for another 4 years. That I am not sure that I could easily extricate myself from being the chronicler of the Donald Trump era. But I would like to go on to other things before my time is over. The action, such as it is, shifts to the grand ballroom.
The room is starting to fill up with Trump's supporters who are going to be...
But in a way, it seems more of a club event than a historic event. It's blue hairs and men in sports jackets, an easy victory, and that's what it increasingly seems to be, might seem to deprive everyone of the sense of battle. Victory seems to lack the energy and passion of believing that victory has been stolen. At 2:25 a.m., he comes out on stage. He seems less than himself.
Thank you very much. Winning the popular vote was very nice, I will tell you.
This turn of events is certainly not evidently filling him with joy, not yet anyway. Where is the dancing? He is, you might read the weary body language, in a kind of stoic mood. It's a flat affect.
Control of the Senate, wow, that's good.
Almost, in fact, the manner of a conventional politician in defeat. How to get through this. He proceeds to deliver his standard rally speech. A subdued Donald Trump is not Donald Trump. Has victory robbed him of his reason for being?
The MAGA movement, they helped.
The fact that he will take every swing state, that in his third try he will easily win the popular vote,
We've been through so much together, and today you showed up in record numbers.
That he will significantly reconfigure many safe assumptions about an otherwise predictable electorate. That somehow, at this moment, he might seem to be the most successful figure in American politics since Franklin Roosevelt was a new and bewildering reality, even for those who were part of it. Even for him, perhaps most of all.
To you, the people, we will make America safe, strong, prosperous, powerful, and free again.
What new fire must he now set?